It was time for yet another Champions League final. On one side of the pitch, you had Real Madrid, the then current back-to-back champions, with a star-studded squad led by the best player in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. And standing in front of them were Liverpool. The English Giants were finally back to their best thanks to the guidance of Jurgen Klopp and the brilliance of their attacking trio. But more importantly, it was a match that had two moments that altered careers and redefined football history forever. What if Ronaldo never left? What if Ramos didn't injure Salah? With that in mind, we're Thorn FC, and this is a match that changed football forever.
He can get down that left-hand side every single time.
Sergio Ramos grabs Mo Salah's arm on the way down. They both fall awkwardly, but Salah is the one who absorbed all of the impact. Despite receiving medical assistance, Salah simply can't continue playing. So with less than 30 minutes on the clock, the Egyptian star's dreams of leading his club to Champions League glory were over. This injury completely changed the course of the match, as before it happened, both clubs were contesting the bout with major chances coming from both sides. But from that moment on, Liverpool were never the same. So what if he never got injured? Well, if you think a fit Salah would have led Liverpool to Champions League glory, I got some bad news for ya. The match would be more evenly contested, but if Jurgen Klopp's reports are accurate, Loris Karius's mistakes were due to a concussion suffered in a collision against Sergio Ramos. So unless you completely remove Ramos from this match, Liverpool would always be on the losing end of this bout. However, Salah's injury greatly impacted his legacy, in ways that you have never imagined. In 2017, Egypt had a remarkable year. They reached the African Cup of Nations final and finally qualified to a World Cup 18 years after their last presence. And much of that success is due to Salah's brilliance. Unfortunately for them, Salah's injury was serious enough to prevent them from playing their opener against Uruguay. While in the last two matches, even though he was fit enough to play, he couldn't show the same magic that he had during the last 9 months. Had Salah been at his best, I have no doubts that Egypt would have been good enough to squeeze a draw against Uruguay and 2 wins against Russia and Saudi Arabia. That improved performance would grant him a spot in the round of 16 against Spain, where Salah could have his revenge against several of the Champions League winners from Spain. Can you imagine if instead of Akinfev saving the last penalty against La Roja, it was Salah scoring the winner against Herrera? Egypt would go to the quarters, achieving their best ever World Cup performance, and who knows? No matter the outcome, Salah would be an even greater legend than he is nowadays, with a heroic World Cup performance forever cementing him as one of the true greats of the game. Plus, with his profile reaching such a spectacular high at just 26 years old, Los Merengues could have seen him as a perfect replacement for the departing Ronaldo, which would then greatly increase his chances of winning the individual trophy that he always failed to capture. But hold on. Because Salah's injury isn't even the most important butterfly effect coming out of that match. In a post-match flash interview, a visibly emotional Cristiano Ronaldo slips up and instead his days as a Real Madrid player are done. Once he notices it, he tries to downplay it, but just a few days later, news starts circulating that CR7 might be heading to Juve, and on the 10th of July, it became official. At the time, many thought it was the right move. Ronaldo had the chance of conquering a Champions League with a third club. He would have the chance to dominate another league, but in reality, no matter how much of a fanboy you are, you have to admit, Ronaldo never reached the same heights again. Sure, he won some Serie A titles and became the only player to win the top scorer award in 3 different countries, but he never won the Ballon d'Or or the Champions League ever again. So, what if he stayed? How would his legacy compare to Messi? Well, let's start with the positives. Real would have never signed so many flops trying to replace him. Hazard would continue with Chelsea, and nowadays he would probably still be an active player, even if he was already in Saudi Arabia. On the other hand, Bale would have been sold in Ronaldo's place. He would most likely get a move to the Premier League, which could have lit the fire under him once more. Additionally, with Bale's departure and Ronaldo staying, Zidane would have never left. There simply wouldn't be any major shakeups to the stable Madrid structure. In fact, I don't think it's too naive to think that instead of a three-peat, Real could have won 4 consecutive titles. I mean, could Liverpool really beat Real Madrid in a rematch 1 year later? Correct me if I'm wrong, but they would most likely suffer the same fate of Atletico Madrid. 2 finals and 2 heartbreaking losses against the same opponent. As a consequence, Ronaldo would win his 6th Ballon d'Or and temporarily surpass Messi in the GOAT conversation. Now in 2020, that's where things get tricky and extremely hard to predict. With a pandemic, any player could be out of his squad, which severely impacted the power dynamics in football. Besides, at that point, Ronaldo was no longer the best player in the world. Even if he stayed in Madrid, Ronaldo wouldn't magically beat Father Time, and so his throne would finally be occupied, not by Messi, but by Robert Lewandowski. The Polish striker would still guide Bayern to Champions League glory and end Real's era of European dominance. At 35 years old, Ronaldo's days as a Real Madrid star would be numbered. Florentino Perez would have to act on that historic defeat, and one of his actions would be to replace the Portuguese GOAT. Since Ronaldo never left, Benzema would have never had the chance of reaching his best level. The most likely scenario would be Los Merengues completing the sign of Harry Kane, selling Benzema and forcing Ronaldo to a substitute role. Now, would Ronaldo accept it? I don't think so. He would probably stay until the end of the campaign, but considering the eventual toxicity in the locker room, I doubt Real would touch any type of silverware in the 2020-21 season, and so, with his contract ending in May, Ronaldo would have an even worse farewell than in reality. And that's where our scenario meets reality. Even with this butterfly effect, Ronaldo would still end up in Madrid in 2021, and from that point onwards, I don't think this alternative reality would be that different. Still, it's fantastic to imagine how different some legacies could have been if it wasn't for 2 flaps of a butterfly's wings in Kiev. One would have crowned Mo Salah as Africa's greatest ever, while the other would have extended Cristiano's and Real Madrid's iconic era of dominance. Who knows which events are happening now that in 5 years' time we will all look back as the moments that change history. Just like a football, the world moves at a rapid pace and history is constantly happening. So stay alert, don't blink your eyes, because you just might miss it. And that is it for the video. Don't forget to leave a like so I know you wanna watch more content like this, and subscribe to never miss the most interesting football discussions, stories and top 10 lists. Thank you for watching till the end, I appreciate you and I will see you soon.